Okay, it's recording. I really got to work on how I start this. Hey, everybody. Once again, this is Malcolm Whitfield coming to you live from Pop Rock in Rochester, New York, 337 East Avenue, comic book shop / cereal bar / drink bar. We're also doing this summer waffle tacos with ice cream and cereal in it. So that's really cool. But right now during the quarantine, we are doing another episode of Comic Creators TV. Where we talk to comic creators. Go figure. Once again, my name is Malcolm Whitfield. I am so excited for today's episode. We have one of my personal favorite creators. And honestly, like sometimes when I send out these invites and stuff to people, it's just really me crossing my fingers. Super glad I was able to get a hold of this person. You may know him, of course, from all of his work across the entire comic book spectrum, talking Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, all of his covers, all of his variants, all of his illustrations are all over there. But recently, what you can check out from him is his Eisner-nominated title, Bitterroot, which is one of my favorite series. Here's one of the issues. We're sold out of the first couple here at Pop Rock. If you give us a call, we'll order more for you. It's a really great series set in the Harlem Renaissance. It's like steampunky and monster fighty. It's really cool. You also know him from Power Man and Iron Fist and his work for Black Panther. Also, maybe you know him from his webcomic, 1000, which I've been checking out. It is so great. It won a Ringo Award. We're going to talk about all these awards. I don't want to dilly-dally any further. Let's get right to it. Here is Sanford Greene. Hello, Sanford. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for doing this today. Happy week 100 of the quarantine. Is that what it is right now?
I lost count at 90.
Yeah.
once I got in the 90s, it was like, yeah, we're in this for the long haul.
Honestly, it is like a crapshoot of what time I wake up at this point. Like yesterday, I woke up at noon. Today, I woke up at 7. It's just, soon there'll be a structure to the days. But how's it been affecting you? I know you're an artist. The last couple of people I talked to mentioned that hasn't really changed their schedule. They're usually just stuck inside drawing and all that anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, just like you said, it's kind of business as usual, but at the same time, it's still different when it comes to everyone else is now home. So you're around those schedules, and God bless our teachers, because
absolutely
see what they have to deal with now. I knew it before, but now it's even more apparent.
Have you been homeschooling or anything like that?
Well, you can kind of say that. I have a senior, and I have a child that's in the 6th grade, 7th grade already. I just want him to advance.
Right.
Move forward. But yeah, with my senior, he's done, thank goodness.
Yeah, right. It's kind of a bummer. He kind of lost a huge chunk of his senior year, though.
Yeah. It was a little challenging here the first month, just trying to navigate through what's going to really happen, and of course, no one had any really clear answers when it came to their well-being. Of course, graduation, prom, all those things were all held up, and fortunately, he's going to have a bit of a ceremony, a graduation ceremony.
Oh, that's good.
The school's going to do is a social distancing thing. Got to wear masks, so whole role, but at least they have that.
That's something that's happening up here too. A lot of places, the restrictions are being loosened a little bit. So even for us over at Pop Rock, what we started doing, not only do we do curbside pickup for all the food and the coffee and all the stuff that we make, if you did want to grab some new comics, since thank God they finally dropped again, we have like a 1 in, 1 out sort of thing going in our shop. So we have all of our new books lined up, and you can come in, browse a little bit. As soon as you leave, someone else is free to do that. So that's, at least we have that right now.
Yeah. It's, again, unprecedented times. Unfortunately, what goes along with this is just everything else, right? All the other, heavy news over the last few days. But I think that's what makes what we have even more important. You having your store and me doing what I do, or anyone like this. I think now's the time to really put our work to some good use.
Yeah, I fully agree. Right. Well, let's get into it then. I personally want to know, how did you get your start in comics? Basically, where did that start? When did you start drawing and all that?
Well, I got my start about 97, 98. I was still in school, and I went to a local show here, Heroes Con, which is it's local, but it's very prominent in the
support your local scenes.
Oh yeah, and I went there just an aspiring artist, and showed my portfolio. I was scared out of my mind, and also just not knowing what to do and how to go about any of this. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I tell students all the time. They're in a stage now in their, I guess, in their portion of life where they have, social media and things of that nature to show their portfolio and prepare themselves, build their portfolio, build their resume, build their brand. And before you even see one person, back when I started, the internet was just becoming a thing. And, I had no portfolio, no presence or anything like that. No one knew who I was.
So really just starting from zero.
Starting from ground zero. I barely knew where I was or who I was. And it was just one of those things where you just kind of, field your way through it. I went to Heroes Con, stood in long lines to show my portfolio, hours long, just to get to a publisher to tell me, better luck next time. So it was just one of those things where I had to keep persevering through it. Going to several conventions, and each convention got a little better.
Pounding pavement, basically.
Right. You're just learning, pounding the pavement, getting more experience on how to present myself, my portfolio, and things of that nature. And, by, I would say within a year and a half, I finally got some actual work. It was small press stuff, but it just started, to build from there.
Okay, cool. And so right from that point, I guess how did we get from there to having Bitterroot, which is, again, one of the coolest series I've ever read. For those of you, just to rehash, maybe you're just joining in, Bitterroot is, of course, a series that, well, why don't you pitch it? Because I'm going to get a lot of stuff wrong, I'm sure.
Well, no, you already started out. It is a series, so you're
okay, 1 point for me.
Yeah. It's in a nutshell, it's about a family of monster hunters set during the Harlem Renaissance.
Just all of those words just like grabbed me. Monster Hunter, Harlem Renaissance, just two things I did not know I wanted to sandwich together.
And it's set during the Harlem Renaissance. They use steampunk technology and alchemy to fight this infestation of monsters. This infestation is coming from a source. You as a reader will find out what that source is. It's this source of evil, if you will. As you go along with them, you'll discover where it's all coming from and why they have to fight it.
All right, very cool. Well, I real quick have a question, and maybe I should have asked this off air. How do you pronounce the family's name? Is it Sangari?
It's a Sangria. It's like a Creole.
I was going to say it sounds like it is. It means like blood, maybe, or something.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, David Walker came up with the actual name. His logic behind it was he wanted to have people just kind of wrestle with the name as you read it. You have to stop for a second just to kind of gather yourself to.
Oh, well, in that case, I did exactly what he wanted. It worked on me. I stopped for several seconds every time I saw it.
Yeah, it's like, you could have went with Jackson, you could have went with, Jones, whatever, but
Roosevelt. No, you gave it a very good, like, distinguished name that you have to focus on.
You have to focus on, and that was the whole point. Yep.
I love it. And real quick, just Bitterroot, David Walker, Chuck Brown, also co-creators, and lettered by hometown hero Clayton Coles, who we actually talked to him last week as well. He talked about how good it was to work with you guys and all that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Clayton, he's definitely top notch in the industry when it comes to lettering and.
Dude stays busy.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, he's always sought after, highly sought after.
Okay. Well, I mean, don't sell yourself short too, because you have some of the most original style I have seen in like a lot of the artwork that I see you do is like very like. Not dystopian, but definitely futuristic no matter what genre you set it in. Can you talk maybe a little bit about your influences or your style?
Wow.
Right,
honestly,
big question.
Yeah, well, honestly, you got about 2 hours. I can.
Yeah, sure. No one unless they kick me out of here. Who knows?
Well, it kind of originally started from watching animation as a kid, and my love for like hip hop, rap music, and everything that entails. Things like graffiti and those different types of influences combined with animation was kind of the beginnings of me starting to discover the art of all those things, and I was just fascinated with it. I would draw, never really fully understanding. When you're at that young age, you're just seeing something you like and you copy it. And shortly after, I started to discover how certain things moved in animation versus how certain things are designed in like graffiti, if you will. And those are the types of things that I just subconsciously started to imply in my work. Then I got this little known book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
I got the exact same book when I was a kid. I was like, you could not tear that from my hand.
Right. Yeah. So I was being sarcastic when I said little known, but it's the holy grail of
absolutely
everyone's start in this whole thing. And so when I got that book, it was just like the light bulbs just started to continue to happen for me, and I got to the point where it was like, oh, so that's why these characters move this way when I see certain things in comics or in animation. So again, the light bulbs just started to come off. So I was hooked. But what was interesting about from the style standpoint, I wasn't so much when I saw How to Draw Comics, when I started to devour that book. I picked up on characters in the motion of the characters. I wasn't necessarily looking at the structure per se, anatomy and form and things of that nature. I just started looking and I was really into the acting and emotion of the characters, the movement of those characters, the power. That's why Jack Kirby was so far ahead of his time.
Unreal.
He was all about the power in the impact that comes from these characters. He wasn't trying to create these subtle, quiet. He wanted these things to be full of energy and bombastic. And
I'm glad you brought up Jack Kirby too, because like Golden Age stuff, you look at a lot of it, like even early Superman and the way that everyone is, it's just very posed. It's still like a little forward and all that. And Jack Kirby was like instrumental in making that come at you.
Right.
So I definitely see a lot of that influence in what you do, what like a lot of other artists do. Jack Kirby. What a cool guy. What a cool guy.
Well, he's King Kirby, so can't go wrong. And,
absolutely.
And to be honest with you, I never was really aware of Kirby. Well, I was aware of his work, but I didn't gravitate towards it when I was a kid.
Just sort of like unconsciously, like the name, and it's just in there.
Yeah. Who I who I was really connected to was John Byrne. He was kind of the first artist that I recognized.
Okay.
There comes a point in
Right.
time you're reading the books or you're into the comics, and you start to notice certain art.
You notice like styles and all that as well.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So John Byrne was kind of the first, but who really kind of kicked down the door for me was Michael Golden. And
Okay.
Michael Golden, he did a lot of work, but he didn't draw Spider-Man. He didn't draw the Avengers. Though he did those characters, he did them in a lot of the specials that came out around that time, Marvel Fanfare and annuals and stuff like that. So he wasn't necessarily in the forefront like John Byrne was. But when he did something, it was always like this high level.
And you could like always tell that style. You could always pinpoint that.
Right. You can always tell. So yeah, he blew me away as a kid. He actually kind of confused me because, I was at that stage still where I thought the size of the actual comic was the actual original size that you draw.
Mm-hmm.
And
as opposed to them scaling it up.
The scaling up and stuff. I know that may even sound kind of, silly.
No. I mean, I guarantee there's a lot of people who are just coming to that realization as you said that.
Right. Is it what? He's not drawing, but yeah, that was the kind of thing for me, looking at those artists at that time. And, and I got into other, again, animation was big.
Right.
The graffiti and hip hop culture is heavily a part of, what I did. And then, I promise you, I did not wear this shirt today because of.
Oh, really? You're not branding? You're not doing a little self-promotion?
I promise you. But this guy, I discovered him on a spinner rack, which you got another exhibit.
Yep,
right?
I got another one. Yep, right there.
So I saw this character at my local drugstore on a spinner rack, and I was done. It was like, oh my God, this character, he looks just like me. And and again, it's a subconscious thing. I just gravitated towards him. Again, down the line, looking back, I started to realize, this character I gravitated towards because he looked like me. And he's on the cover with the Hulk and Captain America and Spider-Man and Iron Man and all these different characters. And he's right there with them. He's prominent with them. And then I discovered his own series, and I was off to the races with that. It was a little hard to get those comics because I live in the South, and you don't, back then, Spider-Man, Batman, those kind of characters, those books were the ones that were
the top sellers that everyone knows.
Sellers, the top more recognizable characters. But that made me want this character even more because I couldn't find him just anywhere. So whenever he shows up in a comic or what have you, I'm begging my mom, please let me get this book. And so it's kind of easy to see, kind of going back to your question, how this character influenced me so much to
kind of like lit the fire.
And it got me to the point to where I was just excited to see any character of color in comics.
I am still very excited to see any character of color now. Right. To this point, obviously, it widens to like disabled characters and queer characters, and I love that sort of representation. Sure. Like for me, maybe this is my generation too. The way you're talking about the way when you see Luke Cage, it's just like this is someone who looks like me in an environment I recognize. For me, that was the show Static Shock. That kind of like me and a lot of people in my generation, where it's just like just something clicked right there. So then you seek those things out, and I think that's something that you and a lot of other artists of color, Vita Ayala, Kari Randolph, and Kay Jemison, that make sure to like focus on, which is great. And it also helps because you know how to draw Black people, which sometimes I have gotten. Every now and then I'll see like an afro, but they're straight bangs, and I'm like, I don't think you understand how this is supposed to work. So it's just great having that representation.
It was surprising, and natural in the back. I don't know. I'm making
Yeah.
excuses.
It's just like I've never seen an afro mullet before, but now I know.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It
Oh
doesn't,
yeah,
just really, again, studying and recognizing what are some of the key elements to making these characters unique, and goes back to again why animation is such a huge staple in what I do.
yeah,
I'm all
absolutely.
about creating interesting shapes and silhouettes
Definitely.
to create these characters. I feel like Spider-Man's, structure should be drastically different than Captain America's structure, or even Daredevil's structure, or Wolverine, if you will.
Exactly. And that's oh yeah, of course, because it's even their styles and all that. You see it in like animation with like just because it's at the front of my mind because I've been obsessing about it again, and Avatar and all that. When you watch
Yeah.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, like an Earthbender's fighting stance is wildly different from how an Airbender's would be, and that's
Right.
it translates to comic books the same.
Right.
Spider-Man is doing stuff Wolverine can't. So you
Right.
want to show that in their bodies and their poses. And
Right.
you and a lot of other artists do a great job of making that real, bring it into like a zone of realism.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like almost kind of contrary to what you just said. I want to diverge from realism, like in terms of
Okay.
back to animation. Animation, when you think about the structure of characters, bigger arms, longer legs,
Yeah.
bigger,
Like bigger torsos and shoulders and all that for
skinnier legs. Those kind of things aren't necessarily. Okay, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but
we're in it.
This rabbit hole. But I think American comics have really done a disservice of, and I should even segue to say traditional American comics, the superheroes, which is fine. You want to have your stoic, more grandiose characters, but then at the same time you should have your brooding and in the shadows characters. Batman does not have the same stance, if you will, as Superman, but yet
Sure.
you see a lot of times they if it wasn't for the cowl, it would look exactly alike, in my opinion. Because
I think the exact same thing.
right, just because of how you see the silhouette, you wouldn't be able to tell one without the other if you didn't have the cowl, Batman and Superman. So my that's part of that's gotten me in a bit of trouble in the past in
Really?
American comics, traditional comics. Oh yeah, I mean, I used to get he's too cartoony. He can't draw superheroes or whatever. I'm like, I can't draw your traditional milk toast cookie cutter. That's what you're saying.
Right.
But again, it's all coming from my love from animation. Like Luke Cage, Power Man should be, proportion wise, he should have this girth about him that says power, because his character's name is Power Man. Like he should not have the same structure as the Hulk, or even the same structure as Captain America, but it should somewhat be relative to some degree. He's kind of a happy medium of both of those guys, if you will, at least in my thinking of designing the character. So when I designed him for the new series, Power Man and Iron Fist at Marvel, there was some pushback because they were, you should make him. Can you make him a little smaller? Can you make him a little? I'm like, it's a comic book. I'm not trying to draw.
Right.
Walking. I mean, Anyway, so yeah, it's just one of where I had to learn to taper down how I envision creating these interesting shapes that I think makes reading a comic book, still images, makes that more animated, right? It brings to life more of these static images. But that's why Bitterroot is something that I'm even more excited about, because it is pretty much all those things that I'm able to do. I have the freedom to design those characters and the world
Definitely.
in that sense.
I definitely, right when you started talking about size and like stature of certain characters, what came to mind was Berg, one of the characters in Bitterroot. How you have him as a big hulking mass, but he's not like Hulk hunched over. He's
Right.
got a poise and properness to him that's
Right.
reflected in his speech patterns, in his mannerisms.
Right.
And it's, he is still a giant guy, big as a house, but you still keep him, and that really frames the character.
Right.
Anytime you have someone slouchy, like the white kid who's who's from the South, who sort of serves as like an aide now.
Right.
To,
Yeah.
the way you frame them really sets like a different voice in the reader's head for what that character should be.
Absolutely. I mean,
So
everything.
definitely respect the work that you do that there.
When you see these characters,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When you see those characters and you
No, go
see their when you see those characters, and you see their forms, you immediately get a inside look, if you will, or at least a glimpse of what these characters are all about. The mannerisms, their character, and so I really think that just makes for a more powerful storytelling.
I fully agree. I do want to move on just because I got a couple more questions, and I could literally just do this all day. I wanted to ask, what are some of your favorite projects that you're working on or have worked on in the past, either with another creator or just like solo stuff?
Well, I would say definitely Power Man Iron Fist, because, like I said before, grew up with this character. This is the character that really helped me to identify, the possibilities.
What can I ask you? Were you asked to do that, or did you go to Marvel and say, "Hey, can I draw this?" Did they come to you? How does that process work?
Okay, so I'm trying to make sure I get the sequence right here. So it was at a con, may have been New York Comic Con or San Diego, back in 2015, I think, 16, somewhere around there. And I did a panel with a few other creators about Marvel, like the next wave of Marvel creative, artists and writers and stuff like that. And they asked the question at the end, what would you love to do? What would be your dream project? And I said, I would love to do Power Man, because I grew up with the character. It was the first character that I saw myself in. And I did a redesign of the character, going back to what I said earlier. It was more of an animated style. If Luke Cage was, animated for a Saturday morning cartoon.
Right.
And Iron Fist. And they posted it on the screen behind us at the panel, and people went nuts.
Oh yeah.
So I reposted that online. Again, the power of social media. And the editor-in-chief reached out to me about a month later and said, we would love for you to work on this thing, because we've seen the reaction, and we were actually talking about this character, and your name came up, and we think you'll be perfect. And that's Power Man. Before he can even say power, I had already jumped up out of my seat. It was just like, wow, this is unbelievable that my dream project is actually going to happen, and full circle, because this got into comics, and then to be able to draw it was a huge honor.
Very cool. That is exactly as you said, full circle.
Yeah.
Very complete how that worked. Man, like you and I have an identical twin brother. He feels the exact same way. Like for him, it was Luke Cage that like the passwords to all of his stuff. If you know my brother, it's something from Luke Cage. It's either Hero for Hire or Sweet Christmas. Those are the passwords to all of his things. Very easy to guess at this point.
Wow.
So you are obviously
information out there, man.
Well, he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's got nothing worth hiding.
Nothing with it.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to switch gears a little bit. You mentioned, you love animation and all that stuff. What are some of your other nerdy passions? Like right now, what are you geeking out about? For me, I've since the beginning of this just started D&D, and I've just been binging. I got a bunch of builds and characters. I'm in like several different campaigns. That's been my nerdy go-to lately. Do you have anything else you're focused on?
Man, I tell you what, this might sound this is very nerdy, to be honest with you.
We're in a comic book store. All right.
Store, and yeah, look here. But I've been binge watching old 80s wrestling on
Really?
YouTube. Yeah. Like everything, the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, stuff that when I was a kid, stuff that I started drawing the characters here recently because I started to really feel nostalgic. I mean, like stuff that predated me, stuff from the 80s and mainly the 80s or early 90s. Once it's around 95, I stopped because that's, things started changing or whatever. But it was a lot more superhero-esque when it was.
Oh, for sure.
And Ultimate Warrior and those
literal capes and face paint and masks.
Yeah, I mean, capes, face paint. Their promos were very comic book-esque, so larger than life stuff, man. And but yeah, it's shucks that a lot of comic podcasts. Definitely binge watching some anime right now. Just finished the popular stuff, Hero Academia.
That's my go-to because I've been like so hard. I'm like, all right, now I gotta get into anime. So I started with the one that was the closest to comic books I could find.
Yeah, so stuff like that, man. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's crazy that you mentioned wrestling. I don't know. I didn't mention this to you before. I don't know if you knew this. Pop Rock itself was actually started. It started by 3 wrestlers. They all had wrestling backgrounds. One of them was WWE. The only one we're right now, the owner, he's the only one a part of it now. Very cool guy who will flip out at the mention that you love wrestling as well. But yeah, we try to blend every aspect of nerdiness. So we got like your Star Wars stuff here. We got wrestling. If you know a lot about anything, then you are a nerd about that thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, those things are not far off from superhero stuff, even in sports. Like, you look at Muhammad Ali, that dude was a superhero.
Yeah, exactly.
So nothing's too far away from this. All right. I only got one more question for you that I had written down. The rest, we just sort of like went off on tangents, which is great. Do you have any advice for any maybe young fans or people trying to break into the industry right now? I know you mentioned social media is a big part of it now. How would you start if you were just now starting?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, it's social media is a huge component now to getting your work out there and just being having a presence. But just from a more academics, if you want to call it, academic standpoint, I would say draw every day, draw from life. Make sure that you're not. It's funny, we're talking about comics and the love of comics and all that great stuff, but the best learning experience in learning how to draw is not from comics. As a matter of fact, I would say put away the comics and focus on like real anatomy. There's tons of great online lessons right now that you can get into, especially now with everyone kind of home and searching for things, to do that would help them be creative and occupy their time. I would say go to, there's some sites, procode.com is a really cool site. He has tons of lessons up there, hours and hours of lessons on everything from drawing anatomy to environments to storytelling, all these different components that you can learn, on your own pace. And and because what you're doing is you're learning the fundamentals so that you can convert it into stuff like this. Like, even though this right here is there we go. looking on the screen. And but even though looking, really cool superhero, this is there's some structure within this. I mean, there's some form, there's some actual, accurate form within it. It's just exaggerated, but it's this.
Yeah. So you need to know you need to know the realism before you can even like approach the surrealism, I guess.
Right. So you got to know the rules before you can break.
Nice. That was very well said. Well, is there anything you would like to, promote? Where can people find you? Oh, by the way, to everyone, I forgot to mention there's this great project. Now I'm talking out of turn that Sanford worked on a couple years ago called 1000. I'm going to throw the link to that in the comments for this because I want everyone to check it out. But other than that, web cartoon that I've been geeking out on lately, where can people find more of your stuff? What do you have coming up for you?
You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and here on Facebook at Sanford Greene. And most of my art is posted on Instagram. I post a lot of updates on Twitter, like events and announcements and stuff like that. Facebook is a little bit of a combination of both of those things. What I have coming out or coming up, well, because of COVID, everything kind of shut down and slowed down for a while, but we're ramping back up. Bitterroot will be coming back, happy to say, full force.
Happy to hear.
Issues 6 and 7 are out now, but 8 will be dropping here in the early part of June. I can't remember the date.
Well, everything changed, so.
Right. Yeah, everything got pushed back, but and we got some really sweet variant covers for Bitterroot that I'm excited about. They're all based on like popular films, urban. I guess you want to call them urban films. Or
yeah, I saw the Do the Right Thing one online, right?
Yeah, just do the right thing. We paid homage to a lot of the cultural films from that time period, from my time period when I was coming up. Do the Right Thing, Boys in the Hood has a variant. Purple Rain has one. I think that's going to be the one that's coming up.
Well,
here.
We're going to order a couple of those too. If you have one specifically that you want at Pop Rock, you know where to find us on Instagram and Facebook. Let us know. We will be more than happy to accommodate everyone watching right now.
Yeah, I think everyone wants that cover. Everyone's about that one. And yeah, so we have tons more. I'll be posting more of that stuff on the different news outlets as it moves forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much once again for joining us. I know you got stuff to do after this. I'm going to let you go. But if you're ever in Rochester, check out Pop Rock, 337 East Ave. Thanks so much for joining us today. All right. Wow. Okay, that was Sanford Greene. I'm super excited. Oh wow, I gotta get out of this because I need to post this on Facebook right now. But again, I'm Malcolm Whitfield. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at marvelous_Mal, and follow at Pop Rock Culture on Instagram. I don't know if we have a Twitter. That's weird. But check out our Facebook. That's where most of our updates get. Check out our menu online. Check out our new comics dropping. Just come and say hey. All right, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of Comic Creators TV. All right. Bye.